Alright guys, we are here up at the Thousand Islands fishing the St. Lawrence River, and I want to show you a little bit about how I idle up here. Today we're going to be using just one screen. So it's for you guys that have an HDS Live 12 that just has one unit on the console here. This is how I run mine. I like to have the side imaging on the bottom so I can run it far side to side, then the map, the 2D, and just the down scan there. That way I can decipher what's what, and we can just get the best out of everything. So here we're going to be coming up. We're idling on this point. You can see a bunch of rock. There's some bigger boulders right there mixed in. Some nice stuff there. We're in about 40 foot of water. So far these fish I've been finding this week have been in that between 20 and 45 foot. They're pretty deep right now, so it's fun to catch them when you find them. There's just a lot of them there. You can see what we're idling around. It's just this little island, had a point on it. We'll go idle across that there, see what we find. Typically these fish are setting up on these breaks where the current just kind of pushes up over top of the point, kind of just washes over it, pushes bait to these fish. They're lazy. They don't want to have to move around more than they would just expending energy, so they just want the food to come to them, just like we do at a McDonald's buffet. Nothing like a drive-through. Alright, so let's see, we're getting out in that deeper water. I like to get back right across that tip there. Let's see what we can find. So when I'm idling too, another thing I like to keep my speed at, I usually try to stay in that 3 to like 4.5 mile per hour range. There you can see there's some bait down there, just a ball of it. We're gonna come up on this point. It's gonna slowly start working its way up, as long as Navionics isn't lying to us. All right, well you can see there's not as much of a point as Navionics shows. Sometimes they're off a little bit. It could be in further, it might be out a little bit further. It just kind of depends. They don't always have the greatest maps of places that are not consistently fished. Places down south typically have a lot more of the contour lines that are accurate. Up here it's usually pretty good. I'm kind of surprised. I haven't idled this part of the river before, so that could be part of what's going on here. But let's see if we go up this contour and see what happens. Kind of a bare bottom here, not a whole lot going on. That's another good area, some stuff like that, where it's got that island and the shoal. They'll get set up on the front side of it with the current hitting it, and then they'll set up also on the back side where that eddy will be. So they're both good spots to chip. All right, so here we're gonna take a look at, you can see where we came up, and there is the start of a grass line. It's milfoil. You can see the way the edge of it is here. And we're driving through that milfoil bed now. We're gonna work our way across it, get back on the back side, and we'll be able to get into that deeper water again. But a lot of times you can come up in this milfoil and still catch a lot of those smallies like to get in there with the mixture of rock. Gets a lot of the bait down there. There's the other edge of it, it's a hard edge, you can see where it starts to drop off. But you don't want to overlook the milfoil beds up here as well on the St. Lawrence. There you can see there's a little drop inside the grass itself in the bottom. See if we can find a little more staggered stuff. Give me 1 second. All right, here you can see we're coming up another section. It's got a little bit of the chunky, it's got a little bit of rock here on that drop there. So I want to show you one thing I like to do for adjusting this. You go to menu, you set on whatever palette you like. I usually use 9 or 8. They're my two favorite ones. They kind of make it pop there pretty well. I usually go 9 up here, and the contrast, I'll adjust that a little bit. You'll see currently I'm on, usually it'll come on the default here, and you'll see it's kind of bright and washed out. What I like to do here is back it off a little bit, so then what it does is it'll give you more of these shadows. You'll see better down there on the bottom. Kind of gives you just an idea of what's going on a little bit better. See, we came up the hump here, and I'm just going to keep riding that, kind of graphing that edge of it, just trying to see if there's anybody setting up on it. It's been a little slow today trying to find some schools. I got one big one, but doesn't necessarily mean they'll be there tomorrow. Wind direction's changing and all that. So this one here, this is color palette 13. I'll show you that. If you hit your menu button when you're clicked on your screen there, you go to more options. There's the palette. Why I like that is because it kind of distinguishes the bottom from the fish a little bit better. You'll see here, like that's a boulder. That's a boulder too, but that one's a bigger one that's kind of up off the bottom. And what'll happen when you see a fish, when you go over it, it'll be there, and it'll actually have a hard mark, like the arch that's on it, and it'll let you better get an idea. Like, so there's one little fish. On a lot of those other color palettes, you won't be able to actually see them being different than the bottom, or it'll look like a weed, but there's a little guy there. And that's why I use color palette 13. The down, I typically only use that just to kind of confirm what I'm seeing on here, or to help differentiate. Sometimes you go over like a piece of brush or something like that, and you can't tell if it's brush or bait or what it is. So I also like to run that one. I usually run that one on 8 or 9, but 8's my favorite one for that. Sometimes you have to reset the auto depth. Just put it to 60, back to close to what it was, go back to auto, and it'll just readjust itself. It just gets out of calibration every once in a while. Alright, so right here's a really good example. Let me back up a little bit of what these fish are getting on. It could be a single boulder like that right there. You can see how big that is. Those fish will get on either side of it. They like to use it for shade, current break, and whatnot. Then you can see here, there's like a big ridge and a pile. Another couple big boulders right there on either side. Kind of keep going. Another ridge, so that you can see there, that's the top of it, and then it drops off and gets deeper in that dark shadow, so you're shooting out over that dark side there. And the taller these boulders are, like that one there, you can see it's pretty tall because it's got that long